मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे ला 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 मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आओ मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आओ हे पावन परमेश्वर मेरे मन ही मन शर्माओ मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आओ मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे तूने मुझको जग में बीजा निर्मल देकर काया अपर संसार में मैंने इसको दान लगाया जन्म जन्म की मैंने चार कैसे डाक चुराओ मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे द्वार तुम्हारे आओ मैंने चादर ओढ़ के कैसे ला 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 पाकर तुझसे नाम न तेरा गाया Hi, good morning everybody. So this video is a continuation of my video series in which I am presenting or representing, because it has been presented a million times in a million different formats in the past and in the present, the spiritual laws of the universe and how through co-creating with the universe, how through cooperating with the universe and how through cooperating with universal spiritual or natural laws we can manifest that which we want into our physical reality, right? And also create a space of true freedom, right? Not the illusion of freedom that is being sold to us via the mainstream media, via the entertainment systems and so on of the world. I'm speaking about true spiritual freedom on earth can be attained through the alignment with and the teaching of the spiritual laws of the universe, right? So these the laws and principles, right? So again, I will recapture what a principle means. A principle is a foundation upon which we go out into the world and we act or we perform our duties and so on, right? It is a foundation upon which we base our actions. And I've been speaking about ahimsa, which is the first yama, which is non-violence, the principle of non-violence. And we are continuing that conversation today, delving deeper into this principle of non-violence and why it is important to adhere to and abide by this principle. And I've been using the subject of vegetarianism or the non-consumption or of meat or refraining from or abstaining from the consumption of animal flesh as a form of aligning with this principle of ahimsa or non-violence. So today's conversation is entitled Principles Come Before all your relationships. Principles must come before all your relationships, right? And this is not an easy task. This is no easy feat to do. This is not something that any average person can do easily. In fact, it takes a lot of willpower. It takes a lot of courage, but it's something that anybody could do once you put your mind to it, right? Principles come before all your relationships. Now, what does this mean exactly? Does it mean that you must discard all your social relationships if they doesn't fit into that which is principle or that which is actual reality? No, it doesn't mean that you discard all your social relationships. You can very well maintain your social relationships, right? You can very well maintain your social relationships, but essentially what it means is to not let those social relationships distract you from your alignment with principle, and secondly, to not let those relationships prevent you or put you in a state of cowardice, right? Do not allow those relationships to prevent you from utilizing your voice to project your voice into the universe and speak about the truth and speak about principles, right? So we have friends, family in all areas of our lives, right? And each person have their particular viewpoints or perspectives, and because of these different perspectives may cause us to stifle our own voice, right? Our own vocal cords, such that we may fear speaking and we may fear acting, right? We may fear acting in accordance with the spiritual laws of the universe. So this is what this topic is about. Principles coming before all social relationships. It's not that you should discard relationships if they don't align with the spiritual law. It means that even whilst you are amongst people who are not aligned with spiritual law, do not allow those people to distract you from purpose, from speaking, and from aligning with the spiritual law, right? And you're going to encounter a lot of opposition, right? You will encounter, especially if you're around many people who are not aligned with spiritual law. People might want to throw as much arguments towards you and try to make things very much complicated for you. But once you know where you stand on a particular matter, right, nothing should shake you from that, right? Nothing should prevent you from speaking up about it, either in order to assist others to help themselves, and then for them to assist others as well, right? So it's basically like Sri Krishna would have stated in the Bhagavad Gita during the Great War many years ago on the battlefield of life, when he told Arjuna that on the battlefield of life you will encounter family, you will encounter friends, you will encounter relatives, you will encounter many people who are close to you, but they are fighting on the other side of the war, right? There will be many people, and there are many people close to you, but they are fighting on the battlefield of life on the other side of the war, of the spiritual war, right? So this principle, this statement, principles come before all relationships. This is what it basically means. Even though you are around people who might be fighting on the other side of the war than you, is for you to remain unshakable and unmovable in your purpose, right? In your fight for that which is right, and in your spiritual duty, because spiritual duty supersedes or precedes all other things. Spiritual duty precedes all other things, right? So, in this vein, this might involve you isolating yourself a bit, you reshape and rebuilding yourself, you acquiring the courage that you need to either speak or to align yourself with the spiritual laws, right? Because it's an act of courage, especially, for example, if you are surrounded in a family, um, if you want to align yourself with spiritual law but you exist in a family who's not aligned with spiritual law, it is difficult to do so. So therefore the act of will, the act of free will, is important here, right? The act of building up a will in you that even in the midst of a situation where direct or indirect violence is taking place and you don't want to be a part of that anymore, that you build the will inside you to act differently from that, right? Even whilst it is in front of your face, the contrary is in front of your face, right? You need to build up a will that is unshakable, right? So with regard to this non-violence and meat eating and so on, people might think, meat eaters might think that there are many meat eaters who think that vegetarianism is in fact a belief system, but the reality is meat eating is the belief system. Most people were socialized into meat eating, and that is why it has become a calcified belief system that even in the face of they inner knowing, even in the face of they actually knowing and admitting that it is a wrong action, they continue to perform the action, right? So I know firsthand that vegetarianism is not the belief system, because I in fact have been socialized into meat eating, right? I was for the past 11, 12 years of my life, I was socialized into meat eating, right? So my father, even whilst he was vegetarian and so on, if I wanted barbecue and curried duck were my favorite meats, and if I wanted barbecue chicken as a treat once in a while, he would take me and buy it for me, right? Take me for the barbecue and buy it for me once in a while. And I came to my own definite understanding that I do not want to participate in this when I was about between 11 and 13 years old, right? I came to my own realization of that around that age without it being forced upon me, right? But now having that definite knowledge, having developed the definite knowledge about that, about it being wrong, having acted upon that knowledge for many, many years, and now teaching that knowledge, I am now in a position to, if I have a child in the future, or to any of you who are listening to this video series, I am now in a position to teach and to socialize my offspring into that which is right, because I have developed a definite understanding and came to that understanding on my own accord, on my own free will, right? So being a principle, the principle of non-violence comes before every relationship that you have, right? So it's actually a very hilarious thing, because since I was 12 or 13, I've been vegetarian, and almost all my romantic relationships I've been involved in were with people who were non-vegetarian or meat eaters, like 95%, and I've been in a lot of relationships, right? And that is why last year the universe had to orchestrate a series of events in order to wake me up from that false reality that I was living in, right? The universe had to orchestrate a series of events to wake me up to the reality that, hey, I was putting my relationships before principle, right? I was putting my relationships before principle, and principle is what should come before any form of emotional attachment to anybody, before any romantic relationship, before any sexual relations, all these things, right? At least to those who are not even willing to make the effort to change, right? So this becomes, once you align with these laws and you recognize the importance of it, it becomes your foremost duty then to teach it to others. It doesn't have to be on an online platform like this, but it could be in your own way, talking to people, showing them certain things, showing them truth, right, in person. You don't have to develop a whole platform and all that, right? So, but the more people that you reach is the better for the entirety of the population, right? So this is my short message for today, that principles should come before all your relationships.